What is the scariest, creepiest theory you know about? We've all pretty much heard of Uncanny Valley, the creeped out anxious feeling when you look at something that's humanoid but there's something clearly wrong with it, like the wax figures at Madame Tussauds or that early robot Sophia. But my favorite theory to come out of it is that we get that strange feeling because somewhere along human evolution we've learned to be wary of things that look human, but aren't. If the human body senses trauma it is unable to combat, it will switch off metabolism, pump endorphins, and slip into a pain-free dissociative state, in essence, shutting down. It's been seen in air crashes and lots of places really. Basically your body can switch itself off. Don't some prey animals do this when they are caught? That's why they seem so unfazed about being eaten. I'm sure I've read something about rabbits not being likely to survive an encounter with a predator even if they escape cause their body is just pumped with so much they have a heart attack anyway. It was on Reddit somewhere I saw it, so who knows how legit it is. A lot of comments bringing up the Fermi paradox to explain the lack of evidence of extraterrestrial life, when by all accounts we should be seeing alien life all over the universe. Here's another unsettling explanation. If you're scuba diving above a coral reef, and you know that there should be fish all around you, but you don't see any, it's most likely that they have learned that for some reason it's important not to be seen, and since you're a newcomer to this environment, chances are it's not you they are hiding from. Years ago when I was seriously dating my now wife, almost every time we started to have sexy time her mother would call up. Seemed strange, then disgusting when we found the hidden camera when moving her out. That all intelligent life kills itself. So the theory started out with the Fermi paradox. Basically there are so many planets in this galaxy, let alone the entire universe, that it is statistically impossible that we're the only planet that developed intelligent life. So where is everybody? Well, the secondary theory is that every intelligent species reaches the point where they have a technology that can kill their entire species, and that the vast majority end up killing themselves at that point. Those who survive this time in their history are so rare that we haven't found them and they haven't found us. As a species we reached that point in our history with the discovery of nuclear weapons, and were at the height of risk during the Cold War, at least thus far in our collective history. But there are various technologies that could bring a species to this point in their history. This would mean that while so far we've survived that it's statistically unlikely we will survive long term. What makes me agree most with this is that as technology advances, its destructive power increases faster than its protective power. Like you say with nuclear weapons existing, no real defense against them does. As time goes on and the average person's personal technology increases, I imagine WMD to get more and more accessible until eventually the odds of zero lunatics getting hold of them will be relatively low. At this point it just takes one nutcase to decide they want to end the world. Of course there's tons of stuff like controlling access to stuff which plays a big part too, but if the theory is good enough for you then it's good enough for me. The one that bugs me was the one about the guy who was last seen in an airport. There's video of him just wigging the F out and running away at full speed. They linked the surveillance footage and you can see him run all the way off the premises. He was never seen again. There's lots of theories about what happened, none I wanna look too far into. That you might be aware of everything happening to you during surgery. The anesthesia keeps you from moving and causes you to forget. Yeah, before my wisdom teeth removal the nurse told me that patients can still partially respond to the commands of the doctor while under anesthesia. They just don't remember this afterward. When I went under I didn't even remember falling asleep. Cosmology can be disturbing. For instance, I recently learned of dead-end trips. There are some destinations that you shouldn't try for. It's possible to travel so far away from where you started that the expansion of the universe will exceed the speed you were traveling at. You can't return home because home is receding faster than you can travel. You can't reach your destination because it too is receding faster than you can travel. You can no longer get anywhere, only get further away from everything. You cannot reach any destination, even if you travel forever. Yes, this is because the universe is constantly expanding, and galaxies, neighborhoods, clusters, etc., are gravity bound. They stick together in distant clumps while other clumps move away. It's kind of like people in cars on a highway. You will remain a constant difference from however many people are in your car, or on your motorcycle. or in your school bus, but you will get further and further away from other vehicles. This means that if you are within a pocket that's bound by gravity, you'll always be an equal distance from everything else. But if you fall out of that car, you're not getting back in it, and you're almost certainly never getting into any other car either. The universe could be dying, and we'd have no way to know until we just suddenly vanish from existence. There could be a sort of quantum energy wave. Can't remember what it's called because it's been so long since I read about it. 0-point collapse, maybe? Vacuum bubble burst? But whatever it is, it's an energy wave that starts at some point and spreads outward at the speed of light, annihilating any matter, energy, and even space-time in its path. Because the wave travels at the speed of light, it is invisible. We would have no way of seeing it coming, because any light emitted by it would hit us at the exact same time that the wave itself hits us. So, all of a sudden, the sun might just vanish from existence. We wouldn't notice because the sun's light from 8 minutes ago would still be reaching us. 8 minutes later, the earth just vanishes from existence. No warning, no trace. More of a story than a theory, but it correlates to some of these and makes me think some could be real. When I was younger I had this little stuffed animal dog I named Rocky. One night, my younger sisters and I, who all slept in the same room so we could hang out together, were messing around, and I two-handed overhead tossed Rocky into the wall directly in front of my bed. He hit the wall, slid down behind whatever was in front of my bed, and was never seen again. I immediately went to go get him and he just wasn't anywhere. We tore the whole entire small room apart. We all saw the event occur. Over time the room has been completely emptied out, everything in it rearranged, walls painted, everything, and no Rocky. He just completely phased out of existence. Makes me think he glitched out of the system or something. There's always that lingering doubt, isn't there? Still, from watching my own kids, most likely explication is that a bunch of kids just couldn't find it. You never say how old you are, but my young children have trouble finding things in the open sometimes. Then a parent found it, not realizing you lost it. They moved it and it eventually got stored, thrown away somewhere outside the room, because they weren't privy to what happened. But since we don't know and can't prove anything, we'll never be able to truly eliminate the possibility that it just snapped out of reality. We used to have these two paintings of clowns, for some reason, next to our bunk beds when my brother and I were much younger. One day we took them both down, put them facing the wall so we can sleep in peace. Come morning time the clowns were back in the wall. We were so freaked out we never touched those paintings or talked about it again until like maybe 15 years later. We were discussing it with our mom and she recalled she happened to put them up before we woke up. Choose the room decor wisely, parents. Not a theory but reality. Schizophrenia can happen to anyone, at any age, even to perfectly healthy people. Imagine being normal and then waking up one day and seeing and hearing things that aren't actually there. That is really scary and creepy. Humans are scared of things that mimic them too perfectly. The theory is that we developed this because there was a super predator of some sort that would mimic us and kill us, but we never knew what happened to it. Well, that's unsettling. Don't the Native Americans have like tribes that believe in skinwalkers that did something like this? Some people have had some strange NDEs, near-death experiences. Going through websites cataloging them can be a trip. I'm willing to attribute some of them to brain damage and some as legit, though I'll never be able to tell which is which. Deathbed visions give me a warmer sense of security. I can't imagine how peaceful it must be to die and see your deceased loved ones there to ensure you make it safely to the other side. During the Challenger accident from 1986, whenever the shuttle exploded, the ground crews had the astronauts' EKGs and vital scans after the explosion. The astronauts were still alive. Theory has it that they were cognizant the entire time until they crashed in the ocean. The Gaussian bottleneck theory. Basically the reason we've never encountered or been contacted by aliens is because they're all dead. Every alien species that evolved to form advanced societies eventually outgrew their planet and destroyed themselves, like we are. I think it's probably because, just like how aliens probably exist because the universe is really big, they probably haven't gotten here because the universe is really big. People underestimate how hard it is to travel between galaxies. You basically can't outside of a small select few in your local group. Not only is it practically impossible, it's borderline theoretically impossible. The only way it's possible is if unproven quirks in the mathematics of physics actually happen to be indicative of reality. The theory that we're all quantum immortals and when someone dies in our reality for them they just keep on going in a reality where they didn't. This is very true. The theory basically says that all the parallel forms of ourselves are basically one infinite lifetime playing simultaneously, and every time we survive a bad death experience, we actually continue in another lifetime. Spontaneous combustion. I watched a strange but true episode about this as a child and was convinced I'd randomly burst into flames one day. I'm over it now, but that was my top fear for a long time. The theory that scented candles starting getting poor reviews at the same time COVID hit the US makes you wonder how many people have mild COVID before we even knew about it. Pairing the lack of taste and or smell as one of the main symptoms associated with mild COVID cases. The theory that there is an infinite number of parallel universes branching out at each moment with all possible outcomes for each situation. Let's say this is true and you play Russian roulette. 5 out of 6 of possible you would live and 1 would die, but no matter how many times you play there would always be versions of you that would survive. This would give those versions of you the illusion of immortality. This would mean that no matter the risks you would take, there would always be some version of you that would survive. If this is true, it would mean that you could live your life completely free of the fear of death and take on any risk. But the only way to know if this is true is to expose yourself to high odds of deaths repeatedly. Also, this would mean that as time passed there would always be a more decrepit and invalid version of you surviving, maybe forever. Anyways, that all is it, people. Sometime in the future, if we don't disappear before, humans will probably be able to bioengineer themselves to avoid death by old age. Most probably only the richest people will get this, founding an immortal elite of dynasties that will be able to rule nations by themselves, while common people simply keep dying as always. Now almost everyone think of death as something normal and inevitable, as part of our nature, but then, in that hypothetical future, death will be seen like a disease which cure it's kept away from common people by that ruling elite. There's a theory that the universe is expanding and compacting again, repeated forever, and that with each expansion we relive history all over again but with slight differences. Remember that time you had deja vu? Some people think you're seeing a previous version of history play out, which means you're stuck reliving your life forever. It's a darker spin on the multiverse idea, I suppose. That nobody has any free will and that everything in your future is actually already predetermined. What constitutes free? Sit quietly and just observe your mind. Watch the next thought that arises. Did you decide to think that? Where did it come from? Does it matter? If everything is predetermined but you are unable to determine it, how is that functionally different from things being indeterminate? What is the alternative to determinism? If it's not possible to derive what happens from what came before, that would mean randomness somehow rules. Is fundamental chaos really preferable to you? Or any more free? That the numbers of people that go missing per year expressed as a percentage happens to be the same percentage as the amount of animals that get picked off from a herd in a year by predators. It implies we are being farmed.